everything, and we have our server running at this address. Now we go here and we paste this address. So you see the registration form is similar to the file that we have created. We can write my name here. We can just do rtx@gmail.com, and let's keep it together, and then we do random password. Then we sign up, and then you see something called thank you for registering, and that is the content. If you remember that we have written here in our thing form, thank you for registering. In our println form, you can see that we have received a registration request here. If you remember it correctly, we are doing the this type of code somewhere inside our registration function then when we are receiving the registration request. So you see we have created this like a request response architecture, and we can do really lot of things with this architecture now. Hello, I really hope that you're making progress towards Rust. And to add to that progress, today we are going to look at the web crate for Rust, which is Actix. So I have something already ready for you. So for example, I've already created the project which is called registration form, and I've also loaded the HTML because I don't want to focus my video towards HTML, and I will just explain very quickly that this is all CSS, which is not required if you don't want to look fancy, but this is the important part of HTML, in which where we are creating the text, email, and the password, and basically the form action called register. So whenever you will click your button, basically this action will be called, and this endpoint we will use in our Rust backend to basically connect our Rust backend code with the front end, which is currently .html. So this is how your HTML page should be looking like, and it should be placed inside templates. Please remember this is important. The folder structure is important because we are going to create our back end according to this. If you want this code, you can exactly go to my GitHub and then you can download the code from there. Please make sure to start it as well and subscribe to this video. Now, going back to our Rust, how does our registration form looks like? So if we have loaded where I have actually copied my registration form, and it actually looks like this. Today we are going to make a very simple communication with our backend to our front end. So it is not very hectic during the video. For this particular video, you need two crates called Actix-web and Surday. You have seen that Surday, I'm using this particular crate throughout my videos. So you need to add particularly this line like the feature derived from this video. And the other crate which I need to use is called Actix-web, and this is basically the crate which our today's video depend on. So let's just dive into our code. So the first thing, you need to basically create the structure that we are going to use. The struct is basically our registration form. So I will call it registration form. And then it will have three variables called name, which is of string type, another thing called email, which is also of string type, and the third thing is called password, which is of string type as well. Right? And then we close this. We are going to basically derive, so basically include two traits which we usually do, the debug trait and the deserialize trait. Basically the deserialize trait will allow the Actix to convert form data, basically the registration form data, directly into your Rust struct, which is really handy. So we will just use deserialize, and we have to basically use Surday.deserialize, and then we use this deserialize, and then we use the debug trait to done it. Okay, so now we have created our registration form. This is what a simple thing. These are the fields that is expected from our registration form. I think everything is clear till here now. If not, you can just ask me in the comment section. Now basically we are going to create the asynchronous function to help us basically with the HTML page. To show me, I have to do impl of a responder. Now the responder will be come from Actix-web library, and it will automatically add this into your use because we have already imported the crate. So this is done. And now how does our responder now? So let HTML equal to fs read to string, and then our path of HTML is templates slash HTML. Okay, so here we are register.html. So here our template is, and here we are going to pass, and this is why I told you, right, place your HTML inside this particular folder, otherwise it will not work, because in backend we are going to configure it like this. Now we are going to use our one more thing here, which is called unwrap or else, because obviously this is a error handler function, so we have to handle the error ourselves. So if nothing works, like our HTML is not present there, we are going to return a small header, which is called h1, and these are the closing brackets of h1, and we just say error loading, right? This is done, and this we need to convert unwrap or else, and this we need to convert to string, to underscore string, and this is, so basically our everything is done. So we have basically created our HTML. It shows some error to us, and what does the error show? Responder is not satisfied, the trade responder is pending. Yeah, obviously we haven't returned the actual responder right now. It's fine, because now we are going to return the HTTP response, and we are going to use the same thread, and we are going to do okay, and then the content type is text HTML, so we are going to write text HTML, and then the body part will be taken from our HTML string, which is this one, and as this is a return type, we are not going to finish it, and now this works correctly, right? So what does this function do? It reads the register.html file from the templates folder. If the file doesn't exist, shows an error message and returns the HTML to the browser. Very simple thing, right? So now when we basically bind it with a port, you will, whenever we open that port, you will see the HTML that looks something like this here. Okay, let's move to our next function called the handles form submission. Because now, as I told you, when you click on submit, there is something that needs to be accepted, right? It is going to be accepted at our backend. And for that, we are going to create our register method. So what does it accept? So it will accept a form type, like a form variable, which will be a very specific type called web form. And here it would be of the registration form type. So now you know that why we are using this deserialize, because it will help us here. Now we have to implement the responder again, and then we have to write the function definition, right? So first we are going to do is that we are going to write the println, and very simply we will write received registration, and then we are going to basically write our brackets, as we have the debug structure, so we can print our debug structure, which is this, and question mark, and then pass our form here. Okay, this is one thing. Now we have to basically not the dynamic here, we have to use the impl responder, and now basically we need to write the responder. So let response is equal to format h2. You can always create, you know, a different web HTML page and read it, and then again send it to HTML response. I don't want to basically send too much information, so that's why I'm just writing, you know, thank you for registering, and then basically you can send the email, password, and everything, which basically I will not do right now. I will just say thank you for registering, and basically we will convert it into toString like we have done before, right? And this should be done. So this is format password, then email, and then this should be done. So we should play comma here, we should have done like something like this. This should be okay. So what error does it show? It shows that the responder again. Okay, we will implement the responder. So the responder is everything basically is coming from the responder trait that we are not sending the responder correctly. And why we are not sending the responder correctly? Because I think we have to do something like this. And here instead of this we send a response, and it should be okay. Perfect. Now this works, right? We have sent a response. So what this function do is that it basically tells the actives take the post request form data and fill it into the registration form structure for it. Then builds a custom HTML response, like for example, like this, and then basically you send it, right? This is what we are doing here. Now we have to write our main function. This is really important because now in this function, we are going to actually bind everything to actives, and we are going to say server running at http ::, as this is a local server, it would run in my local port called 127.0.0.1 : and the port address would be 8080. That is basically, this is your localhost address. Now you have to do http server : new, and then you bind it, and then you write the function for it, and then you write app : new. Here you will mention the route. In the later video, we can obviously create it more gracefully, like creating different routes and everything. But for now, we are going to work it like this. And I'm sorry, I think, yeah. So here I delete this. We do web : get dot to show, and here we show our show form that we have done show me, right? And then basically, so this is a get request. It will say route. It will create the new route list. It will take the route from the show me function, and that's why it needs to be async. The second route is taken from again, which is basically /register, and the route will be web dot post and then dot to register. Okay, this is okay, and I don't think we need to fill anything here, and this should be fine. And then we can do this, and we need to close the brackets that we have done. Okay, what is the error? Consider semicolon. I don't think we need a semicolon here anyway. Here we need a semicolon, yes, and then we save it out, and then this works. It says delimiter mismatched. Is I missing something here? No, I don't think so. Show me, it should be this bracket, and this should be the show me bracket. To show form, you don't need this bracket here because it's like a get to show and get to register, and this should be okay. Means this should be this brackets. Usually the problems are with the brackets, and that's why I need to carefully check the brackets if everything is correct. Everything looks okay. It is showing few things which is not there, so let me just check one by one. So there's a bracket. We are closing app dot new dot route, and we pass a route called web : get got to, and then the show me handler, and then we basically close the two brackets. We do route again. It says mismatched. Okay, fine. It should be part of this. Okay, maybe the issue is this, because we are passing both the routes to a single new. Maybe this is the issue, I don't know, but okay, it shows part.register and everything works here. Okay, let me finish first. Okay, then we do the bind thingy. For the bind thingy, you have to give the port again. So we'll have port 127.0.0.1, and then you give the different address, which is basically 8080. We will be sending this to the callback to back dot run dot await. This should look fine. Let me see what the error is here. Await is used inside a non-async function. No, it is a async function because we have to make the async. Now, most of the things are fixed. The only things which is problematic is still the error part to it, and it is saying that, it doesn't work. So the small error can create bigger issues. So the only error which I see here is this closing bracket, which basically we can fix, and now everything works. So it also shows main function is not allowed to be async. Obviously it doesn't, we cannot just make a function async, we have to basically derive it from a macro, and in our case we have to use the Actix-web : main, right? And now this should work, and now we can do, so to test our code we do cargo run, which runs everything, and we have our server running at this address. Now we go here and we paste this address. So you see the registration form is similar to the file that we have created. We can write my name here. We can just do rtx@gmail.com, and let's keep it together, and then we do random password. Then we sign up, and then you see something called thank you for registering, and that is the content. If you remember that we have written here in our thing form, thank you for registering. In our println form, you can see that we have received a registration request here. If you remember it correctly, we are doing the this type of code somewhere inside a registration function then when we are receiving the registration request. So you see we have created this like a request response architecture, and we can do really lot of things with this architecture now. So stay tuned for the next video where we do some more complicated things with the Actix-web. But till then, have a nice evening and have a nice day.